Hey guys, Biot-Savart here, and I wanted to let you know that my Modern Warfare 2 playlist has more than 50 gameplays in it and can be considered complete. I don't anticipate making any more Modern Warfare 2 videos given the very poor state of the game at the time of this recording. Part of that is my own fault for not starting this channel sooner. What partly inspired me to make this video right here is Brian Clum's The State of MW2 on Steam in 2025 video. Link to his videos in the description. I completely agree with every point he made in his video because MW2 is almost dead and unplayable at this point. The game should be removed from the Steam store page because the current state of the multiplayer was not as advertised back in 2009. With that being said, I've come up with some guidelines as to the improvements I'd like to see from an MW2 remake, not a remaster. Generally, incorporate all the DLC maps into the base game. There are 10 DLC maps released with the original Modern Warfare 2. Fix all the weapon bugs, such as sights not being aligned, silencers not working, or FMJ not working, and similar. Um, Also, create a 24/7 Rust playlist with Team Deathmatch, Domination, Demolition, and Sabotage being the rotating game modes within that one playlist. Decrease the lobby intermission time to 30 seconds from 60 seconds. Add a reset stats option at the end of 10th Prestige, similar to how Modern Warfare 3 does it at the end of their 20th Prestige. And create cross-platform play between consoles and, if possible, between PC and consoles. I believe Apex Legends functions that way, and it seems to work fine for the most part. An idea I had was to unlock the ACR, UMP45, G18, and M21 EBR via completing all of the individual Spec Ops levels on Veteran difficulty. There are 2 levels, I believe, which require a partner, which should not be required for such an achievement. But those 4 weapons should remain locked from the player until they somehow verify that they've completed those levels on Veteran difficulty. Why did I choose these 4 weapons in particular? In my opinion, these are the 4 cheapest weapons and most overpowered weapons in the entire game. So I think this will inspire players to actually play the Spec Ops mode and add value to the game. Up next is give players the option to see helicopters spin out of control instead of disintegrate. Sometimes in the multiplayer, when you shoot down a helicopter with a Stinger missile, for example, it simply just breaks in half and falls down and disintegrates into dust before your eyes. But I find it personally very cinematic, and it adds value to my experience playing multiplayer when the helicopter spins out of control and makes that characteristic Call of Duty sound of it spinning out of control. If it's possible for that to be like some sort of graphics or video option for no matter with what you shoot down a helicopter, it'll no matter what spin out of control. I would really appreciate that. I would turn that on. That would really add to my experience playing Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer. Um, Another idea I had is to add a gold camo to Modern Warfare 2. For those of you familiar with the Call of Duty Golden Era between Modern Warfare 1 and Black Ops 2, the Modern Warfare trilogy had gold camo in it. Specifically, the trilogy. Let's talk about that for a minute. Every game except Modern Warfare 2 of the trilogy had gold camo. Modern Warfare 2 famously had fall camo. Not as impactful. I don't know why that decision was made, but I think at maybe 500 headshots with primary weapons, what you could do is you could unlock the option to purchase gold camo, like as a microtransaction. I think that would just sweeten the pie for somebody somewhere to monetize Modern Warfare 2 and actually make a profit from a remake of this very old game, which likely won't have as large of an audience as, say, Fortnite in our time at the time of recording this video. But I think like it's possible to get that challenge done for in-game XP, get 500 headshots with, let's say, the M4A1, but doing so would unlock the option to just purchase the camo on your gun, and you could keep that for the rest of your ownership of the game. I don't know how you guys feel about that. That might be controversial. Feel free to leave a comment telling me why that's a bad idea, and we'll just forget about it. Also, a minor annoyance of mine in Modern Warfare 2 is that it's a little bit difficult to see players on these maps, especially when they're not moving. I'm not just talking about snipers and ghillie suits, where that's actually expected and fair, but if you can increase the visibility of players on these maps, I would greatly appreciate that. All right, let's move on to kill streaks now. I think it would be a good idea to add a health bar on top of kill streaks, like above them for the players to see, to show how much health remains for that kill streak. For example, the Harrier, like it hovers there, you shoot it once, You shoot it a lot, you see how much the health decreases. I think this would encourage players to use teamwork to shoot down the Harrier, because when you're doing it by yourself, it looks like this is a hopeless effort. Shouldn't waste my time. I should just hide. But I think if 2 or 3 people do it just for a little bit, just unload one magazine into it, and you see that progress, that health bar go down, that'll inspire people to shoot down air support more effectively. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. Another kill streak idea is to make the UAV, the 3 kill streak, which you're all very familiar with, an individual reward that is only the player that calls in that UAV gets the benefit of enemy positions being revealed on the map. Why do I say that? The UAV, I think, is a very overpowered and annoying kill streak, and I think it's unfair to expect people to always run cold blooded. I also noticed that it completely destroys the prospect of flanking, or at least too much. I think making it individual is much more fair, similar to how it is in free for all, where if one player has a UAV, it doesn't feel like you're completely compromised when you're playing against good players, especially. Again, feel free to leave a comment telling me how you feel about that. Another killstreak idea is the sentry gun. I find it very disheartening that this was considered a care package killstreak. You have to call in a care package, it lands, it's a sentry gun. Like, that whole step should be removed. It should just spawn in your hands instantly when you call it in, like as if you've already picked it up from the care package. You almost never saw the sentry gun in Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer. It really bummed me out. It kind of cheapened the sandbox of the game. I thought we could always use more variety and flavor in the game. Hence my comment about the ACR, UMP45, G18, and, well, I didn't see the M21 EBR much, but those 3 mentioned, the first 3, were way, way overused for the correct reason. They're very overpowered. Similarly, you frequently see Predator missiles. You almost never see a sentry gun. It's a complete accident if you ever do. Um, Another idea for the sentry gun to make it more effective is to give it some vertical ability. That is, maybe if a helicopter is at the right angle, a sentry gun could be able to point upwards, target the helicopter, and shoot at it at least. Not necessarily shoot it down, but at least do some damage to help your team out. I think that would also add some spice and flavor to the game. All right, let's talk about Predator missiles. Minor notes, just increase the height at which the Predator missile launches into the map when enemy air support is active, because it's possible, for those of you who don't know, to shoot down an AC-130 with a Predator missile, and that I find to be very satisfying to do, and a very unique thing about Modern Warfare 2. I I don't know if I've ever seen that in Modern Warfare 3 now that I think about it, but I thought that was a really cool feature of Modern Warfare 2, that the Predator missile actually launches above the AC-130, and you could shoot it down. I thought that was really cool, and one of the rarest things you could possibly do in Modern Warfare 2. One of the rarer, I should say. So just when enemy air support is active, to also help shoot down perhaps the chopper gunner or attack helicopter flying around. The precision airstrike. Feel free to keep it at 6 kills, but definitely buff it and make it easier to control. You're definitely allowed to control the direction the airstrike comes in, but there's 3 jets that fly in, and I never understood where the actual explosions occur when you place that one circle. Like, because it never seemed consistent to me. Just make the user interface more easy to understand where the actual bombs will drop and in what order. I would appreciate that. Regarding the attack helicopter, have it do much more damage and give it one set of flares, because again, you only ever saw the attack helicopter completely on accident. Anybody who knew anything about Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer knew that the Harrier was superior to the attack helicopter in every way. It was just much more powerful. I think, to keep in theme with Modern Warfare 2, how we know it, you should buff the attack helicopter greatly instead of necessarily nerfing the Harrier. I think just having it do more damage would be a start, and giving it a set of flares would be a start. Regarding the stealth bomber, I would recommend having it either come in faster, just fly in faster with less warning, or just emit less audio that it's coming in, or have 2 stealth bombers come in, perhaps uh, at 90 degrees relative to each other, such that they form a plus or X sign on the map, or just have the ability to call 2 stealth bombers in, or even what Remake could do is have the stealth bombers be able to kill enemies inside of buildings or behind cover. Like even if you're the buildings that come to mind are the two large aluminum sheet metal buildings on quarry. Like if a stealth bomber passes over those, drops his bomb over it, it should kill enemies inside just as a result of the shell shock is what I'm thinking. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but why do I bring this up? Because I almost never saw the stealth bomber. At 9 kills, you almost always saw the payload. The stealth bomber was, again, only called in seemingly on accident. Um, but I think this would just add some power that the stealth bomber desperately needs. Similarly, you could call it in vertically on wasteland and kill people hiding in the little trench in the middle of the map. I think that would also make it much more effective. And another idea I had is let the L86 LSW, MG4, and M240 light machine guns be able to reach and damage the AC-130. The AC-130, as you may know, it's pointless to shoot bullets at it. They just do not register. It seems that the AC-130 is out of range. I don't know what would have to be done to let those 3 LMGs damage the AC-130 for a little bit. Why those 3 LMGs? The LMGs just seem to logically make sense the most, and the RPD and AUG H-bar are, I think, the more used LMGs of the 5 that were available. I very rarely saw the 3 L86, MG4, and M240 LMGs. I think that would just give people a reason to use those 3. I don't know how much damage they would do. That would have to be a question of balance. Another option would be similar to in how in Modern Warfare 3, the AC-130 and Osprey gunner do not come with a thermal camera for the player to use as they're shooting downwards. I think it'd be cool if Modern Warfare 2 also gave you the option of a Modern Warfare 2 remake, I should say, also gave you the option of turning off the thermal camera entirely and just playing the game with your ordinary camera from the chopper gunner's point of view or the AC-130's point of view. Just an idea. Also, another thing you only ever saw in accident was the EMP at 15 kills. 15 kills was a very awkward place for that kill streak. I think an idea that could work is making the EMP a common kill streak for anybody at all. They do not even, it won't be selectable, but anybody who earns a 10 kill streak, that's a completely arbitrary figure. That should be, that is completely up for debate at what kill streak you want to have it at. But at 10 kills, anybody should be able to. An EMP from your side should just be called in either instantly or that player should have the option to call in an EMP. I think that would. A 10 kill streak or whatever kill streak seems to happen rarely enough that this isn't going to be a thing that happens every game, but it should just happen more than 1% of the time, certainly. Because it seems like any given night you turn on Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer, you will not see the EMP with like a 99% probability. And just a user interface word of advice is to count when the player's kill streak gets to 20. Tell them that they have a 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 kill streak, just because sometimes you're close to a nuke and you don't know if you need 1 or 2 more kills. I think that was just a limitation of the time in which Modern Warfare 2 was made back in 2009, but certainly it would help now. All right, moving on to some of the perks in the game. Marathon, Lightweight, Cold-Blooded, and Sitrep, those 4 perk requirements, the pro perk requirements, are much too high and should be reduced by 75%. Marathon, I believe, requires 26 miles to be sprinted. Lightweight, 30 miles to be sprinted. Cold-Blooded, you have to shoot down 40 pieces of air support. And I know very well there is a glitch for Cold-Blooded. If you shoot down a helicopter that's being spinning out of control, as I said, like for example, shot down with either small arms fire or the AT4 or the RPG, it will spin out, and if you shoot it with Cold-Blooded, it simply counts as towards the pro perk. That should be patched. That's a massive oversight. It should simply take fewer kill streak destroys to earn Cold-Blooded pro. And also similarly, Sitrep Pro requires 120 equipment destroys. That is way too long. It should be like 40 or something. Because the other perks take seemingly reasonable durations to acquire, such as Sleight of Hand takes no time at all to get pro. Stopping Power, no time at all. Even Hardline is a reasonable amount to take to get pro, assuming you're using the UAV, counter UAV, and Predator missile setup as you do in the early game. Second note about perks is abolish last stand. Should be pretty self-explanatory. I don't know why that was ever included in the game. It's just annoying. Third point about perks is abolish death streaks. I think we're past them whenever, if ever, Modern Warfare 2 were to be remade, not remastered. Fourth point about perks is change One Man Army Pro to have the effect of adding ammo to teammates' arsenal when they come in the vicinity of the player with One Man Army Pro. If a player doesn't necessarily have a scavenger, but they know somebody on their team is using One Man Army and they have One Man Army Pro, then they could act like some sort of resupply point, and that could be very useful to increase team-based play. Obviously, this is not very useful in free-for-all. Perhaps a different idea could be thought of for free-for-all. Another idea for One Man Army Pro is to receive the benefits of those friendly UAVs. Is such that if you're using One Man Army Pro and somebody on your team calls in a UAV for themselves, you will also get the benefit of that UAV. So it clues you in a little bit better as to what your team is up to. I think that'll give people more of a reason to actually use that perk besides for just infinite noob tubes, as the viewer is likely very familiar with that perk if they know about Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer. I think that'll just add some much needed variety and utility to that perk. Because one of the rarest sights to see in Modern Warfare 2 is somebody actually using the perk One Man Army to switch between classes as a practical matter instead of just waiting to switch classes when they respawn. You almost never saw that. Okay, another point about perks is Hardline Pro. With the abolition of death streaks, for those of you that don't recall, Hardline Pro simply required death streaks require one less death to activate. So death streaks should be abolished. So Hardline Pro needs to be replaced. What I was thinking is Hardline Pro lets you recover health twice as fast from, I believe it's 5 seconds in the game to 2.5 seconds or so. You can tinker with that a little bit. And another benefit could be to increase resistance to shotgun damage. That's just an idea. And the perk Scrambler, I always thought was so close to being one of an actual strategic choice perks you can make, because Scrambler also, everybody knows, anybody who knows anything about Modern Warfare 2 knows Scrambler was a massive joke as to use. It only ever gave away your position. But I think the problem was that the fact that it functions on a continuous spectrum of darkening the enemy's map instead of a discrete spectrum. That is, the closer you get to the player with Scrambler, the more and more fuzzy your minimap gets. I think if you simply got within a certain distance of the player with Scrambler, that could just turn off your minimap like instantaneously. Whatever distance is deemed appropriate for multiplayer play, and that could just turn it off immediately. So you wouldn't know that, oh, they're either this close from me, they're roughly this close from me, or they're this far from me. They're just in my vicinity. I just know that. I think that's a little bit better than what it is now. I would love to see how that plays. Obviously, this is all hypothetical. And of course, the range should be increased, I think, of Scrambler. Even as it is now, it's kind of a poor range. And I think Scrambler Pro, in contrast, perhaps that delay Claymore ability could be kept, or perhaps it should be given to a different Pro perk or something similar. But Scrambler Pro, I had an idea of if you have it, when you fire an unsilenced gun, you as a red dot do not appear anymore on the enemy's minimap. You just shoot and the red dot does not appear on the enemy's minimap. I think this would inspire. Well, my idea behind this is that players who use LMGs with Scrambler would use this perk, because it seems like they're not going to be rushing, so their position could be better maintained from a local point and not be given away. That was just an idea. If you guys have any ideas, please leave a comment. I'm all ears here. And regarding the copycat death streak, that was actually a death streak that is not annoying inherently, I don't think. So I think that should just be built into the game inherently. When a player kills you 3 times already that match, you should, for the rest of that match, have the option to copycat their class whenever they kill you again. All right, moving on to weapons, equipment, and attachments. These are just some modifications that I'd like to see happen. So the ACR's damage should be changed to be a flat 20 at all ranges. because if it's going to have no recoil, you might as well try to balance it by having it be the least damage, the least powerful assault rifle in the entire game. Just an idea. The F2000's movement speed should be made that of 95% of that of an SMG's movement speed. It already kind of functions as the SMG of assault rifles, the submachine gun, I should say. I was thinking this little tidbit could be more of a reason to actually ever see the F2000, because again, this was a gun that nobody in their right mind ever used. It was completely uncompetitive compared to every other assault rifle. But this little tidbit could help it be actually more strategically useful for the player and add more of a sandbox to the game. The UMP was extremely powerful. It was a 3-hit kill without stopping power at every range. I would strongly recommend that its damage profile be made the same as that of the MP5Ks. That is a 2-hit kill with stopping power at close range, but a 4-hit kill with stopping power out of range. I was thinking another little piece of trivia to add to get people to use the L86 LSW and M240 would be to decrease their recoil when the player is prone with those guns. Such is the case in Battlefield, typically. For those of you that don't recall, those two guns have bipods at the front of them. So the Battlefield franchise allows you to actually plant the bipod. What the developers could do is actually create an animation when you go prone with those guns to deploy the bipod, or simply just decrease the recoil such that it's noticeable on those two guns. Especially that those two guns come with bipods, like I believe the other RP, like I believe the MG4 and AUG also come with bipods, but those have very manageable recoil. But it would encourage people to actually use those two guns, I think, because you almost never saw those guns. Regarding the AUG H-bar, similar to the F2000, the AUG H-bar is kind of like a hybrid between an assault rifle and an LMG. So I would recommend increasing its base movement speed to 85% of an SMG. And something unique about the AUG in real life is that it has its own built-in scope. So I think it would be cool if you unlock the AUG, you would be provided that scope as an option instead of the iron sights. Of course, that's just up to the player to use that. They shouldn't be forced to. And something weird about Modern Warfare 2 is that there was a gun in the campaign, the Dragunov, which was not included in the multiplayer for whatever reason. Maybe because people thought it would be redundant, but I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world if it were placed in the game. And I think it would be somewhere between the WA2000 and M21 EBR. I think that would be pretty cool, just to get a little bit more variety in there. Regarding the Riot Shield, the speed of the melee attack should be increased, or I don't know how this would play, but I was also thinking just making it a one-hit kill. If you're in range of the Riot Shield and you get hit once, you die to the melee attack. But much more practical is to simply increase the speed of the melee attack and the recovery from that melee attack, not as a function of any perk. Regarding the AA-12, I think the extended mags attachment should be changed to 12 shells instead of the massive 16. I think that's a little overpowered. And 12 is more than enough for 3 enemies, I think. Regarding the G18 akimbo crosshairs, they should be changed to the same height and width as the other machine pistols, and their reload time should be increased such that you can't just completely destroy the entire lobby with them. I think they're massively overpowered. I think this would balance them just a little bit. Another joke gun in the game is the Desert Eagle. It was almost never used. It was understood as being pretty much the worst gun in the game. Something to maybe balance it and help you actually see it every now and then is to either decrease its recoil after every shot or increase the headshot damage multiplier to make one-shot headshots possible across either the entire map or just a longer distance, whatever you guys think is more appropriate. The most eye-opening recommendation I would have is to create some sort of system where, regarding grenade launchers and rockets, like the RPG and Thumper and AT4, Javelin, all that stuff, is to create some sort of team-based arsenal of those grenade launchers and rockets, such that for that match you only have everybody on your team only has an arsenal of, say, 4 total grenade launchers, so that it doesn't matter if everybody has that attachment. Like, you can only launch 4 until your faction runs out of those grenades for the match. I think that would greatly balance scavenger one-man army, such that even if you replenished your grenade launcher, even if you picked up a scavenger pack or changed class to the same class, like, your team arsenal is gone. You don't get to replenish grenades after the 4th one is fired. Similar to the similar point can be made with rocket launchers such as the RPG and AT4. You can fire, let's say, just 4 for an arbitrary example. After the 4th, it doesn't matter that you pick up scavenger packs. You're no longer going to replenish your rockets. I think that would make the Modern Warfare 2 much less annoying. I don't want to say take them out altogether. I I am of the school of thought that there is a tactical place. There is a tactic regarding grenade launchers. When somebody is behind cover, or you can only see their forehead, such as their head glitching, such as at the staircase at the end of the hallway on Skid Row, like, that is the actual tactical location where a grenade launcher makes sense. You shouldn't just use it as a primary weapon no matter what. That is my school of thought. You guys can tell me whether I'm right or wrong in the comments below. Um, I'm, I don't know how you guys feel about that as an idea, but I think that would certainly make Modern Warfare 2 less annoying. Such a system. Next point is to remove the stinger from the game. This, I believe, would, like I started with at the start of the video, I think this would encourage teammates to shoot down air support with either a weaker launcher, such as the AT4, or try to shoot RPGs at it, or at least use the Javelin, which takes at least a little bit more time to lock on. And you should also have a limited amount of Javelins at the start of the game. Perhaps the Javelin's damage should also be decreased. That's a conversation for another time. But the Stinger makes shooting down air support much too easy. I think it should be more of a team-based effort than it is currently. I think similarly, the RPG's damage against air support should be increased, such that if you hit maybe an attack helicopter with 1 RPG, it should be shot down, or similar to Pavlos, it should just do more damage. I don't know how much exactly. Regarding Semtex grenades, I think their blast radius should be decreased, and the blast time, that is the time until they explode, should be increased, similar to how it is in Spec Ops. For those of you that are familiar with the Semtex and Spec Ops, those seem a little bit more balanced. Why do I bring this up? You almost never saw players use the actual frag grenade. You only ever saw Semtex because, to be fair, at the time in 2009, this was many of our first introductions with grenades that actually stick. It certainly was mine. I didn't know that was a concept. That didn't make sense to me, that you could throw something sticky and have it not stick to your hand as you just try to let go. Like, that doesn't make sense. But nonetheless, this caused the frag grenade to basically never be used outside of martyrdom, which, again, death streak should be abolished. So if you balance the Semtex this way, I think more people will use the frag grenade and more of the sandbox will open up. Speaking of equipment, Blast Shield is almost never used. It's a massive missed opportunity of Modern Warfare 2 back in its heyday. I think if you make it as effective as Flak Jacket and Tactical Mask in Black Ops 1, that would get people to use Blast Shield more. And also, its effect should be passive. You shouldn't have to actually press your grenade key to actually activate it. You should just not have access to grenades and have essentially that blast shield equipment protecting you from explosions, such that you don't get noob tubed or stunned or flashed as easily. Another attachment that was almost never seen is the underbarrel shotgun attachment. I think its damage should be increased, not necessarily its range. And it always annoyed me that the grenade launcher unlocked the shotgun attachment, which nobody ever used. It should be the reverse. The shotgun attachment you should be forced to get 20 kills with it to unlock the grenade launcher. I think that would be much more balanced. I don't know why nobody's ever come up with this over there, but there you go. The panic knifing in Call of Duty always annoyed me. I don't think it's fair that the person who knifes first or who has a better connection gets the one-hit kill off. I think the panic knife should do 50 damage instead of 100, such that if you damage an enemy and you run out of ammo and you're panicking, then okay, fine, you can panic knife. I think that still makes for a fun game and fun experience, and a more of a fair experience than what it is presently. But just not 100 damage like it is now, where it kills you instantly. Next point in general is to decrease the muzzle flash of all weapons. Sometimes it's just impossible to see in front of me where people are. Again, this has to do with the visibility of enemies. Another point is to decrease the FMJ requirement from 300 kills, which seems like way too many, down to 200. Much more reasonable. I don't know why it was ever 300. FMJ is the best attachment, yes, but 300 seems like way too many. And decrease the secondary attachment requirements. Like, you should not need to get 400 kills with shotguns to get the extended mags. That's way overkill. Similarly with the machine pistols, you should not need to get all those kills, like 150 kills, I think it is, for extended mags. That's too much. It should be 100 at most. I'd like to note that the video you've been watching is me playing against the YouTubers WASD Mitch and Prodigy with a 1 instead of an I. I would like to say that I consider it impolite that they were changing the team deathmatch lobby to search and destroy, as you see. If something struck a chord with you in this video, please leave a comment and tell me your thoughts. Back in 2010, I started watching Call of Duty gameplay commentaries on YouTube with Hutch and CNanners and Blame Truth and all those guys back then, too many to name. And now I've finally come full circle and made one of my own. I consider that to be progress. Thank you so much for watching.